Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this week we're going to have fun playing around with two sets of specialist tools from Find by Tool. We've got 3 captive ring tools and 3 bead forming tools, so we're going to put them through their paces, have a play around, see what we can create and learn something along the way. So let's get started. Right, so Find by Tool contacted me a few weeks ago asking me if I would like to try out some of their new M2 cryogenically hardened high-speed steel tools. And as I've never really used beading tools or captive ring tools before, I kind of jumped at the opportunity to give them a go and see what we can create from them. We're going to start off with the bead forming tools. I'll explain why a little bit later on. So we'll put the captive ring tools to one side for now, and we'll start with these. Okay, so the tools we're going to look at first are the 3 beading tools. We've got 6.5, 8 and 10 millimeters. They do a 12 millimeter as well. And we're going to be beading this ash bowl that we part turned in April last year. So it should be nice and dry. I'll get this set up ready and we'll get started. Okay, there's the ash part turn bowl all nice and true, so we can start having some fun with the beading tool. Okay, so we're going to start off with the 6.5 millimeter bead forming tool. Now these work in a very similar way to scrapers do. So first of all, we've got to get the tool rest just above halfway, and we're going to be angling the tip slightly down to the piece. Now, with it being a scraper, we don't want to go into this hard. We're just going to lightly touch the surface and then move it side to side to allow these tips to start cutting into it. Okay, that took a bit of getting used to, but it worked pretty well. Initially, when I put the tool against the piece, I was kicking off to the side. That was mainly because I was touching one edge first as opposed to the other. So you've got to get used to watching it and engaging both at the same time. There's a little bit of tear out in the wood, but not as much as I've seen with other tools. So that's pretty good. Right, let's move up to the next size. Okay, so this is the 8 millimeter. Getting better. Let's try the larger size. Okay, so that's the larger one, that's the 10 millimeter, and that's made quite a nice bead. We have lost a little bit there, so let's have a look at sharpening these tools. Okay, now sharpening these tools is fairly simple. All I've got here is a screwdriver, which is the same diameter pretty much as the gap in the middle. So I'm just going to wrap a bit of 400 grit sandpaper around it, and starting with it touching nice and square, I'm just going to pull up, just homing those edges. Only go one way, and you're going against, this is the top edge that we've been cutting on, the one with the label on, so we're going up towards it. Okay. That should be nice and sharp, ready to start again. Instantly much better. That's pretty clean all the way around. There's a couple of bits, but that's just normal end grain that you would get tear out on anyway, especially with a scraper. Excellent. Right, let's do a couple more. I've just realised that my torque wrench set act absolutely as perfect sharpening guides for this. Still getting better at this. I think that was my best one yet. I just lifted the handle a little bit more and it seemed to cut an awful lot easier. Brilliant. Really enjoying these. Right, I'm going to quickly get out my rubber, clean off this surface, and we'll have another quick go. Let's get rid of those. I just left that top bead on just to give you an idea of what the kind of things that you can produce with these bead forming tools. Okay, right, I'm going to do, I think, a couple of lower beads here and here, and then take out the wood between them. So we've got top bead and then two smaller beads, medium size and then smaller a bit further down. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so for 5 minutes work, I don't think that's come out too badly. Still a bit of fine tuning to do, but the finish is certainly getting better and better the more we get used to using this tool. So I'll take this one off, we'll put on the spindle and start using the captive ring tool. Okay, we've got a beach spindle in place. I'm going to quickly get this round and then we'll start. Okay, so these are our 3 captive ring tools. Now the tools themselves do not make the captive ring from start to finish. We need to create a bead first and then use these tools for the undercut. Now we can use the bead forming tool to create the bead, but in case you haven't got one of those or you don't get one of those, then we'll show you how to make a bead first and then use one of these to finish it off. Okay, to start off with, I'm going to take a 1/8 inch parting tool, and using this I'm just going to cut in twice leaving an area in the middle that we're going to use for the bead. Okay, so that's the initial cut made. Now we need to be able to get underneath this to free this up when it becomes a ring. So next, I'm going to cut in from the sides to widen up this area so we've got more access. Again, without using the beading tools, we can form a bead with either a skew, or in this case, this is a spindle gouge. You can also use a ball gouge as well, whatever you're comfortable with. Main technique is to get it spinning, rub the bevel. When you start to cut in the center, just roll it over and push in. Okay, so that's the starting of the bead formed. So I've got the corresponding size captive ring tool, and coming in from the front, I'm just going to touch that back edge into the piece and then start working it round, pushing in to start the undercut. I'm not going to go all the way through. I'll get as far as I can this side, come out, turn it over, and then start going around the other side. Now you see why we've cleared away these edges here, because you need the room to be able to get underneath. If you do start rubbing against it, then just come back out and take these corners away a little bit more. Now, very important when you are using these tools is when you start to come out, don't pull it out because you're going to get a horrible catch. When you finish cutting, rotate your tool back to the center and come out the same way you went in. Okay, so that's the undercut started. Now this is an ideal time for you to sand this top piece and put a finish on. I'm not going to do it right now because we're just demonstrating. So sand it, finish it, whatever you need to do, and then you can come back in with a tool. Keep on cutting in, cutting away until it breaks free. Now I'm just starting to run out of room, so I'm going to come back in again with a parting tool and just clear out some of this area and a little bit of the sides as well. And there we have it, our first captive ring. So I'm going to do another one here. This time I'm going to use the skew to create the bead, and then we'll create a third on here with the beading tool. Okay, this time we're going to use the skew, and the action is very, very similar. We're just going to let that leading edge start to make contact, start to cut, and then roll it over. and then turn it over and start doing it the same on the other side. This requires a little bit more practice. I'm not very good at it, so please excuse me if I mess up. Okay, that's the bead made with a skew. We're going to use the slightly larger captive ring tool this time to take this one off. Okay, at this point, don't forget to stop and finish it. And I'm also going to get my parting tool and just widen out this shoulder a bit. Right, I like that one. That's better than the first. It's amazing what practice does. Okay, we're going to make another one now. This time we're going to use one of the bead making tools that we used on the bowl. Okay, there's the third one. You can see, because we've got actual tools designed to make a specific item, how well it works compared to those where you try and make do with what you've got. To sharpen the captive ring tools, it can be done on a normal flat stone or anything like that. All you're going to do, hold your finger against the edge, rest it nice and flat against the bevel, and just pull. It's the same way that you would use with your skews or your chisels. We're just homing that top edge. Nice and flat on the bevel, and just drag. That's all the sharpening you need. Okay, so before we finish up, I just want to quickly show you how you would go about sanding the insides of these rings. So what I'm going to do first of all is just cut it back the wood behind them. Okay, to sand this piece, I've just got some nice fine sandpaper here. I'm just going to wrap it round and then tape it in place, leaving plenty of area to the side where we can rub the pieces over. Now, you can either spin it by hand, just working around it if you're not feeling if you don't feel comfortable holding onto these pieces while it's spinning. If you do, then get one piece where you want it, turn it on a very, very slow speed. Just grab it and then gently work it round. And that will sand the inside of the pieces. If you don't feel comfortable doing something like that, then you can also wrap the sandpaper underneath and do that way. Obviously you'd need thinner pieces of sandpaper. But there we go. That wasn't too painful, was it? Bead forming and captive ring making using tools provided by Find By Tool. Now, as you know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, so I always like to try new things. I'm not scared of trying something for the first time and letting you all watch it as I do it. This was honestly the first time I have ever used any of these tools. It's the first time I've ever made captive rings, and it's the first time I've ever used a tool to create beading work. I've done it by hand, and it's horrible, but I have done it by hand. So using these tools was quite an interesting experience. There is a certain learning curve involved. You can't expect to pick up a new tool like this and become brilliant at it right from the start, as you saw with the initial beads that we were making with the bowl. But with a bit of practice, by the end, we were making captive rings, which were perfectly acceptable, and beads as well, which are going to look nice on this bowl when I finish it. If you are interested in taking a look at these tools, then there are going to be links in the description to the video, which will take you right there. I do get a small percentage from the sales, but everything I ever make with this site all gets put back into buying more equipment, buying more wood, for us all to enjoy in the future. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching. If you have any questions about these tools or anything else, please leave them in the description below. I shall see you all next time. Thank you.